Alright guys, welcome back. We are watching Tsukimonogatari episode 4, Yotsugi Doll part 4. We are already at the end of the arc. That is just crazy to me. It feels like we just started it, but we're already here, already at the end. Last time, well, we learned about Tadachiru, and Tadachiru has immediately made himself quite known in the story, and we are gonna go get back Aragi's sisters and Kanbaru at the shrine, apparently. Seems like we are really, I don't know, it certainly feels like an artificial situation as Aragi thought about it, right? Um, I don't know, it's feels like a test almost for Aragi in a way, not like literally, but he's certainly being thrown immediately into a situation with not being able to use his vampire powers, right? Which I'm still thematically is still very interesting to me. So I don't know. We're going there. I guess we'll see what happens, huh? So we're watching episode 4. You can line your own copy up with this if you want to. We are starting in 3, 2, 1. Traffic light. Oh! Oki! What's up? Speak at the devil, I guess, huh? Ooh. What's up, Ogi? Yeah. It just happens to be waiting here in the middle of the night. You don't have a home. Yellow light. Did not catch that. And she completely knows what's going on. Oh, right. Right. Waiting here since this morning. What is up with Ogi, huh? Oh god. So she completely knows what's going on, right? I mean, like, okay. I don't know how, like, far off the rails I want to go. Um, with, like, analyzing Araragi and Ogi, right? Like, I just think even just that line, her saying that she's been waiting here since this morning. Well, this morning is when all of this started, right? It's when Araragi looked in the mirror, couldn't see his reflection. Ah, God, I don't know how much I want to try and connect those things, right? It's like how much of a part of Araragi do I want to say Ogi is? Like even like in universe, right? Like well no, because it's interesting because it's so weird that we've seen Ogi interact with other people, like Kanbaru, right? Like because like I would almost say that Ogi doesn't even exist and that she's only within Araragi's mind, but we know that that's not true. We know that's not the case. Because we've seen Ogi interacting with Kanbaru. We know that Hanakawa knows about Ogi. So no, Ogi exists, right? Hmm. I mean, I guess like in this story, oddities, things that only exist in your head can just become an oddity and exist outside of your head, right? So I mean, Shinobu, yeah, yeah. Hmm. According to the setting. Ooh. Yeah. Can't do anything without her? What a difference that is. Oh. Is that really what he said? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm sure she can't remember. Yeah. Just wants Aragi to say it. Hmm. That line really worked its way into his head, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Right? Another snowman. Ooh. Is that right? I wonder. That's why. Hmm. Okay. Makes sense, maybe. I don't know if that subtitle error, maybe. Hmm. Let's have the scale balanced. The yellow light, like right on the edge. Sure. How pathetic, how pitiful. Hmm. Do you need to tell her anything, I wonder? Because she's not just a small child to him, right? She's a monster. Ooh. You've changed, you've matured quite a bit over the past year. Oh, right. And she knows that. How would she know about that? How would she know about that? Right? Ooh. How much you've lost, right? Your humanity even. Hmm. Sure by succeeding. Is that possible though? Interesting. God, what a conversation. No, no, probably not. No, no, Ononoki, that doesn't make any sense. It can't be that. No way. No, probably not. That would be ridiculous. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Sure, sure. Ooh, for things to be proper. Like what does that mean? Well, I yeah, things to be proper. What is correct? Right? But you're also a little girl that it's pathetic to rely upon, huh? Hmm. Oh. I'll just sure, God. The imagery in this arc. Ooh. I don't know if that is realistic, though. To just sidestep the problem, essentially. Hmm. Have to convince him. Right, I guess he did that with Kaganui and Skihi. Ah, dead aberrations. What even makes an aberration dead? Life of a lifeless doll. Yeah, you're dead in a sense, right? And Oshino, right? Yes. And Tadatsuru, of course. God, what a crazy project. Hmm. Almost like parents. Yeah. Interesting. God. Oh. Yeah, her own decision. Hmm. Interesting. A stray. Interesting. Oh, then the worst case scenario, which Araragi wanted to think of the opposite of that. Oh, no. He could never do that, right? Of course. Hmm. Okay, like, right. No, this makes sense. No, this makes sense. Listen, makes complete sense. In terms of like the whole, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Oh. But yeah. I don't know if it was that either, but hmm. It's well, you're doing it right now, so no, but really, I think it makes sense. Of course, yeah, she's a person. Okay, yeah, there's how she's like actually a person. There's something like deeper there, right? I think that's like yeah. Okay, be the decoy. Hmm, a very certainly going for the best case, yeah. Oh yeah, right. They rescue them, but they were just there to lure Aragi and Shinobu there, right? I don't know if that's gonna work. I don't know if that's gonna work. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work. Ah, if you like even have the potential to be a vampire. Hmm. 1 in a million chance. Is that what he wants to shoot for? Ah, he would never do that either. Yeah, yeah. But what does that say about him at this point? What does it mean to be an adult? Yeah, it's like it's very unrealistic, right? Reckless even. It's like you're not even planning for it as you should be. Ooh, payment. Right, right. Ooh, you don't learn from that. I, s- yeah. God, I hate how I'm gonna have to like talk about all that though, because I did not catch that because it means something for sure. Ooh. So yeah, that's an interesting question, right? If he won't sacrifice himself for the people he cares about. What about sacrificing the villain? Yeah, of course. Exactly, exactly. Wouldn't that be right? Exactly, exactly. Tadashi, impossible. Ooh, sure. She would stop being human. Huh. I don't know. I don't know what to think. That's of course. God, the way it's like he. Oh, don't say that. No, but it's almost like a representation of him looking at her more deeply than he has before, you know? Ooh, shouldn't have let go of her. Oh, wouldn't give herself up, right? Oh, I wonder if it's giving herself up in a different sense, in a way that Aragi would view it. Oh, okay. He's he's blue. He sure is blue. What is up with him? Is he what is he? Seems very, I don't know, very strange aura around him, right? Well, he was right, apparently. One of the laws of signs, the origami clock. I don't know what that one means. Time for what? Out of time for what? He's gonna kill them? Hmm. He has very. He looks very interesting. Okay, she's going along with it. But then what is Araragi gonna do? If that works, she gets all three of them. That doesn't really solve the situation. Unless he can use his chit chat skill, I suppose. Ooh. Of course, of course. Ooh. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, I think that makes complete sense that she would have that attitude, obviously. she would she would much rather Aragi not die, right? Especially okay. All right. Okay. Especially knowing what his death means for her too, right? I mean, God, he's so cool. He's so awesome. I swear I recognize this voice. Tiori Tadatsuru. I suppose. No, there's actually two people in front of you and there's a third behind you, but it's okay. Her curse forbidding her from walking on the ground. That's okay. That's what it is? Right, right. Oh, and him. From what? Yeah, it looks like oddities, I'm sure. The one that cast the curse. Oh, paying off their tabs. Interesting. Is that like the explanation for like Kagnui's like strength too? Oh god, the chit chat skills aren't working. Right. How did you hear about it though? Hmm. Okay. Ooh. Right, right. Okay. He has a very strange attitude. I... What? Why in the world am I here? Is this like an existential question? Like what in what sense? Yeah, yeah. Like what do you mean? Sure, sure. That means he's the bad guy, right? Uh-huh. 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 Yeah. The culprit. What? What are you getting at? Why in the world am I here? Right. Doesn't understand his own actions? Or is that it? Is there something much more to it? Is there... What are we talking about? He doesn't know why he would exterminate him. But why would he target Araragi, huh? I mean, why is he here then? Aesthetics. Perfect person to be cast against you. Sure, yeah. Like the... Yeah. Like the artificial... Right, right, the artificial feeling of it, yeah. Interesting. And of course... Hmm. Them too, huh? That is... interesting. In a way, in a way. Hmm. It's just the role he has to play, I suppose. Oh, God. What? Man, this is like a new level of, I don't know, meta? Not really, kinda. Like, in a sense, but I think it also, ooh, it also plays into, like, thematically, like, Aragi's whole thing very well. Ooh, look for Oshino. What will Oshino do? Neutrally, be the middleman, right? Yeah, can't find him. Hanakawa's looking. I imagine he does not. Interesting. He would have went to Oshino. To be proper. Goes back to what Ogi said, right? Okay, okay, okay. I think this all makes sense, right? It all connects back to Ogi, for sure, right? Like thematically. Oh god, sorry, what? We're gonna fight? After all that? Oh god. Like a pawn. Like a pawn. God, I think that too applies in a very interesting way. Ooh. Help turn you into a vampire. Is that is that Ogi's goal here? Maybe. I'm dense. Thank you. I suppose. Oh, because you're human. Not a vampire, a human. Human compassion. Do just you want to be defeated? Oh, he's talking to Ononoki. He's talking to Ononoki. Right, that's why he's looking in that direction. Right. The phrase she used to say, the pose look. Oh, yeah. Oh, really? Oh, God. That's how it has to be, huh? Is she just playing her role as well? In a in Aragi's eyes, perhaps, right? Oh, the shadow. Yeah. Oh, of course. Immediately starts insisting it's not his fault, because of course he would blame himself for it. Doesn't always work out like that. Oh, God. Because I'm a monster. Oh, God. Okay. What the hell? Right, right. Okay. Oh, okay. There they are. Um, I'm gonna have to think about all of that. God, I don't know. That's a rough one. Okay, I gotta pay attention. There she is. She wasn't needed. With her curse preventing her from touching the ground. Is that true? I don't know about that. Back they go. No idea anything happened. Asleep the whole time. Oh, right, right. Yeah, of course, of course. That's very good, I think. That says something about Araki, too. Yeah, that he's not gone entirely. Oh, into the sun. Oh, God, I don't know, man. I I don't think so. I don't know if that was the point. Maybe, like in a sense, I don't know if the message you're taking from it is good. Yeah, yeah, that I don't know if that's right. Ooh, perhaps, perhaps. Why would Ogi want that though? Of the darkness, of the darkness. Ooh, God, it took them away from him. God, so much in this episode. Oh, what's up, Shukahara? Oh, right, it's Valentine's Day. I'm sure it's very good. She's so happy. Of course. Oh, we haven't been here in a while, I feel like, at her house, have we? Not in a long time, I think. Told her about it, of course. Ooh. How is it troubling? Oh, it's literally the best answer possible. What the hell? Exactly, right? Oh my god, that was such a good line. Sure. Ooh. Yeah. Things rarely stay the same forever. From who? What does that even mean? Ooh. Interesting. This sense of finality that he has. Yeah. That again, it's like the unpaid debt piling up in his mind. Oh. Oh, looks so good. I suppose, or it's something. Hmm. Sure, right. Part of why you acted like that, in a way. Oh, God. So true. Yeah, she kind of had a similar attitude, right? Yeah, we gotta stop talking about Hanakawa. It's Valentine's Day. Come on. Right, right. Oh, God. Oh, is she not abroad? Sure, right. God, that was such a good scene. Oh my God. Okay, what? Like, oh, what is Oninoki doing here? They were better at it than Aragi. Oh yeah, literally. Hmm. We gotta talk about the crane game, by the way. Interesting, sure. Why would Ogi want that, though? If that really was the plan. I don't say it like that. Interesting. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's what we want. True, true. God, the sounds of them grabbing him is so violent. God. These noisy days will continue for just a bit longer. He said something about that in the first scene, in episode 1, right? God, and that's the end. That was such a good last episode. God, man, I loved those last few scenes so much. Oh my God. Hmm. Okay, okay. I was worried in the middle of this episode that I had no idea what the hell was going on. But I think I've kind of pieced stuff together. Like, maybe. There's definitely a lot of, like, just I don't even know what the word for it would be. Just stuff. There's a lot of stuff in this episode. Right? Like, huh. A lot of things that I can just tell absolutely mean something. I'm just really I don't know. Maybe we'll come across it what it could mean as we go through it. I we'll see, I guess. Hmm. It's mainly okay, it's Aragi's connection to Ononoki and like the way he views her and like what that means for him. And then just generally all the stuff with the Ogi. All the stuff with the Ogi. And like this how it's almost like these the self-destructive impulse from Aragi, I suppose, in a way, right? Like it's just about his recognition of how much he's changed and what he's going to do about that, right? Whether or not he's okay with that, I suppose. Okay, okay. We will talk about the episode in the discussion. Okay, let's talk about the episode. I did not even realize this episode was so long. It's 33 minutes. It didn't feel like it, huh? Okay, where do I even where do we even start, huh? Really good arc, really good episode. A very I feel like this fits very much as like a beginning arc to like this new whole section of the story we're getting into, right? Um, I guess if I had to say what this arc is like about for Araragi, because I feel like obviously, like every Araragi arc has had some kind of like not lesson for him, right? That's kind of how he puts it, right? What did he say, right? He said that he thought the lesson he learned from this was to see Ononoki kill someone as a monster. Yeah, what I think it was a story meant for me to see the cute doll called Ononoki Yotsugi murder a human as a monster. I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree that that is the message behind the arc. Um, I guess I feel like ever since episode 1 in this arc, him not being able to see himself in the mirror anymore, it is like a it is an arc that I suppose is just about Araragi, like, grappling with the fact that he has changed and, in a sense, like, not overcoming that, right? Because that kind of feels like the final thing, right? That kind of feels like why Ogi exists. That kind of feels like the whole thing, right, for him is this idea of accepting change, right? Recognizing himself as changed, perhaps, you know? Because right now he can't see himself in the mirror, right? Right now he's not able to do that, and he really doesn't reach that point through the process of this arc. And I suppose because of Ogi messing with all of it, right? Because this is so much of an arc that Ogi is kind of responsible for, in the sense of like Tadatsuru and everything, right? I mean, I think that's basically confirmed, right? Ononoki like literally jokes about it here at the beginning, right? Um, because of that, I guess, yeah, he's this was not an arc where he actually learned a positive lesson. I feel like, right? Like, especially with Ononoki killing Tadatsuru, it's hard to imagine what truly goes through Aragi's head in this moment, and, like, what it means for him, right? What does it mean for him to see Ononoki as a monster, right? Like, in this episode, it was we were shown like this connection between Araragi and Ononoki, right? Ogi kind of like made fun of Araragi for it, like not really made fun of him, but like you know what I mean? Like she's like, oh, you're relying on another person, isn't that bad, right? Um, Going back to like his whole basic thing back in Kizu, you know. And yeah, and he sees the person that he relies on in this case, that he's relying on so much, Ononoki, who before this scene that he just had this very human connection with in a way, right? I think, God, as fucking stupid as it is, him looking up her skirt, looking at her panties, I think that is him seeing like a deeper part of her and engaging with her in a deeper way than he ever has before in a way, right? Like this kind of conversation. I don't think they've ever really talked like this explicitly, right? I guess the conversation before Kabuki was pretty like close in a way too, but I don't know, that's just what it makes me think. So he had this human connection with her. It was just brought up this idea of him like relying on her so much and all of this, you know. And then he sees her kill someone, right? He sees her murder someone, you know. Um, Tadatsuru, which it's interesting because it's justifiable, right? Tadatsuru was literally asking for it, and he was like the culprit. He was the villain, and you can't get through life. You can't always get through life only with the best possible outcome, as Araragi wanted so badly, right? So he sees her do that, and I guess it's just the conflict in his head surrounding that, right? That Ononoki is a monster, that this person that he was so connected to, that he relies on so much, is just a monster, right? But it's so interesting too how Ononoki says this, that she is a monster. Don't end up like this. When a human story ends as a monster story, their humanity ends. God, what does she mean by that? I wonder what the other subs say. There's another. I want to go back and read that Ogi conversation with the other subs too, because I feel like some of the lines were weird. Once a human turns into a monster, it's all over. Okay, yeah, sure, sure. Hmm. But what does it mean to be a monster beyond like Aragi's whole thing, right? I don't know. An interesting question, I suppose. Um, yeah. So I mean, I feel like it feels like this arc, it's not that it doesn't have a satisfying conclusion, because it very much does. It's just the conclusion isn't like a positive one for Aragi in my mind, right? It really feels like through the process of this arc, through the process of everything that happens here, it's like Aragi could have had the opportunity, if he was like there yet, to like accept the change that has happened to him and be able to like, I don't know, maybe not become an adult. I don't know if that's what it means, right? But to have been able to accept the change that's happened to him, to be able to see himself in the mirror again, all of this, you know, and he didn't, right? It's almost like just a failure of that in a way, right? It's like he's not there yet, I suppose, right? Um, which is very interesting, and it feels like it all just comes back to Ogi. It all just comes back to Ogi, and like It's just Ogi, right? It's all just Ogi. So I guess let's talk about Ogi, since we're here, right? Ogi. So she's waiting for Araragi. Yeah, just happens to be here, right here. My beloved Araragi senpai, I was getting tired of waiting for you. How many conversations have we seen between Araragi and Ogi, right? She hasn't shown up that many times. The hello. The prologue to Kabuki. Uh, at the end of Oni Monogatari, right? And is that it? Is that the only time we've ever seen these two interact before, that we've ever seen them talk? I think so, right? There's still obviously, I mean, there's still like this familiarity between them that felt so weird, felt so strange back in like Kabuki when we first saw her, right? Because again, it's like, who the hell is this, right? Now I think it makes more sense with the idea of like viewing her as like this part of Araragi in a way, right? Like she lit like this episode more so than ever like completely confirms all of that in my mind. I hope I'm really not completely off in some way, but no, like in my mind, this like completely like when I'm viewing the scene, like with the way that Onanoki is just off in the distance, just like looking at them, right? It just feels like it's Araki talking to himself, right? It just feels like it is such a bizarre, crazy situation for Oki to just randomly be here for Araki to talk to, right? It just feels like it's Araki talking to himself, right? That he's running through all of these things that are going on with like almost this old version of like himself in a way, in terms of like the rules and everything that he thinks he has to follow. You know what I mean? Um, it's literally it's like he's just having like this internal conflict, but with Ogi, right? Um, because like my obvious evidence for this, the main thing is Ogi knows about spring break, and not only does she know about spring break, she knows about like literally him locking himself in the gym stores closet and crying and stuff. Like, remember how the last line of Kizu was Aragi saying like, "Oh, I'll never tell this story to anyone" or something, right? And here's Ogi who knows all about it, you know? Yeah, no, like Ogi is just I would if we hadn't seen Ogi talking to Kanbaru, I would say that Ogi doesn't even exist. And Naruto, right? I would say that Ogi doesn't even exist. I would say that Ogi is entirely just within Aragi's head and is not real at all. But we know she's real, right? That's kind of how this universe works. That's how oddities work, right? Um, I guess we don't know like literally how that would like go down, I guess, but she's just like an externalization of that, I suppose, of like of what exactly, right? She's very much related to the darkness. Aragi thinks of her as the darkness yet again, at the end here, right? Maybe not yet again. Maybe this is the first time explicitly he's thought of her as the darkness. But it was very clear in Oni Monogatari when the conversation between them followed right after all the darkness stuff, that's like how you're meant to perceive her, right? Um, in terms of like being the darkness, she very much represents like a similar thing in terms of like the rules, right? She's very much a it's like you remember how I was saying how Aragi wants someone to judge him, like with Kaganui and with Tadatsuru and all of that, you know? It's almost like Ogi is like that too, right? It's like she is someone here to enforce the rules, as she literally said in Oni Monogatari, right? She's here to punish liars. She's what else did she say? She said a bunch of stuff like that, right? Just like the darkness, just like how the darkness is the rules of the universe. How did Guy put it exactly? Or something like that, right? Ogi is like that. But I think it's just what Aragi wants and imagines for his own like system of rules, right? Um, which is an interesting distinction because the darkness the darkness and the rules that it represents in some way um is relate like from a storytelling perspective, I think it is in a way related to Aragi and his mindset, but it's also Ogi is also that like differently. I That doesn't make any sense. I guess what I mean is the darkness and Ogi agree on like a lot of stuff, right? Like Hajikuji, right? The darkness destroyed Hajikuji, and like the darkness destroying Hajikuji is very much like in my mind, like the reason why that happens in the story is because Araragi, like from a storyline perspective, like Araragi thinks he doesn't deserve Hajikuji, right? And we can see that that is also literally true through Ogi, who also was looking for Hajikuji, right? Remember back in Otori Monogatari, right? Um, So we know Ogi would have also wanted to, like, do something to Hachikuji, destroy her, I don't know, right? Um, so God, it's so weird and, like, meta how the darkness kind of represents that too, but it's, like, different, right? The darkness is somehow the literal rules of the universe, which I kinda disagree on the fact of that existing at all, so I'm curious if we'll ever get into that, get into how the darkness actually works in that sense. But Ogi is, like, this externalization of just the way Aragi thinks, like, the rules should be, right? Probably comes from, like, a desire he has for, uh, himself to be, like, judged and all of this, right? I mean, because that's what Ogi's doing, right? Like, if Ogi is the one who put all this Tadachiru stuff into play, if this was somehow another attempt to just kill Araragi, I think that makes sense in a way, right? I mean, Araragi's been suicidal. Araragi views himself in this moment as someone who is breaking those rules that he thinks are so important. Um, all of that, right? And Ogi has manufactured this situation for him to be judged and killed, right? Which makes complete sense. So yeah, I guess this conversation certainly confirms that. Let's go through like all of it though. Let's go through all of it. What happened to your usual young blonde lolly slave? Thank you. Thank you. Her nickname at this point, huh? You can't do anything without her according to the setting, right? Or okay. A bunch of lines in this conversation are fucking weird. Every time I switch to these other subs, I'm always disappointed. But let's see. How odd for her to be absent. Doesn't your character sheet say you're powerless without her? I guess that's kind of like the same thing. I guess that kind of the setting, his character sheet, kind of like the same thing, right? Um, it's very interesting, right? Because the way that she's saying it, it's like she's saying that it's just a part of Aragi, right? That it's like certainly that character sheet line does, or part of the setting in a way, right? That it's Aragi can't do anything without Shinobu, right? That's part of like this recognition of himself having changed so much through other people that has led to him not being able to see himself in the mirror, right? Of course, right. Makes sense. Ogi would bring that up. I don't know if that was true so much in the past, certainly. But that's true now. That's exactly what the setting is, that he can't do anything without her, right? Because I guess from his perspective, like think about the Nautico stuff too. It's like he had to rely on her so much. That's kind of like the whole thing with the vampirism thing, right? It's like he's been relying on her more and more. It's like I guess as time has gone on, he feels like he's just been relying on other people more and more and more, and he's been unable to, take things onto himself like he feels like he should have to. Which that kind of makes sense why his plan for Tadatsuru manifested in that way too, right? Why it would just be Ononoki would take them away and he would do everything by himself, right? Just die, probably, right? I'm not embarrassed about it though. It's good to be able to rely on others' powers. So, like Aragi says all these things like that, right? That he things that I imagine that he does believe, or at least he says he believes, right? That he can understand, right? But it's just this conflict. It's just this conflict between that way he feels now and Ogi, right? This the rules that he's supposed to adhere to, right? It's just him struggling with this idea of changing at all, right? He's unable to accept that kind of change, right? He's unable to be able to say that without Ogi existing. You know what I mean? Yeah. You relied on them too much, didn't you? My uncle said it all the time. It all goes back to what Oshino said, huh? That line. It's you can only save yourself, right? Yeah, I'm sure she forgot, right? People can't help other people. I won't help you. All you can do is help yourself, Aragi-kun. It's like Aragi's misunderstanding of what that line means, like, wormed its way into his head so much, huh? Like, God, it all comes back to that. And I wonder if that's why she is Oshino Ogi, why that's what her name is, right? Probably, right? The relation to Oshino Meme is if she is like continuing his work in a way. It's like I wonder, right? Because like we know that Oshinomeme's disappearance actually is pretty significant for Aragi, right? It makes me think of him like when he's talking to Hajikuji in Nisei about Oshino being gone. Um, it's something that did affect him a lot, right? So I wonder if Ogi too, if in a way she's supposed to almost be like a replacement for that, right? That Aragi wants someone like Oshinomeme who he feels like can like guide him almost, right? It's just obviously Ogi is not good for that, right? But it makes sense that Aragi would think that he needs something like Ogi, right? Yeah, yeah. God, the idea of guiding you, it makes me think of traffic lights again too, right? How traffic lights tell you what you're supposed to do, right? The red light, the green light. There's a bunch of traffic light stuff in this scene. There's a yellow flashing traffic light a lot, which like to me is like it's right on the edge, right? Which in my mind is kind of like where Aragi is right now as a character, right? He has changed so much as a person over the course of like the past year. Basically, it's February now, right? It was April, so it's been like 10 months, I guess. Um, and he's changed so much, but it's like he's unable to go. He's unable to. The light can't change green for him. I guess I imagine, right? He's unable to like accept that change and be able to view himself as himself still as like a changed person, right? So it's a yellow flashing light. He's in the middle, right? Hmm. Too absent-minded, huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's your uncle's signature line, not mine. Which is such an interesting thing for him to say as he's looking at the thing that is so representative of like his own signature lines in a way, all the stuff about humanity and stuff. That's why I have no regrets to a surprising degree. Does he really have no regrets? I really wonder. I just want to see the other subs on this line too. Yeah, I don't live with regrets. I have no regrets. That just can't be right, That he has no regrets. I guess with Aragi's mindset about things, it's not really about regrets. It's just he does things that he thinks are wrong or that he thinks he will have to pay compensation for, and then he just thinks he has to pay the debt. He has to pay the unpaid tab, right? Um, which I guess is in a way different from regrets, right? But I don't know. It's because then it's like the question would be if Aragi could go back and change it, would he? Right? Which in my mind, I guess if it's something that you would go back and change, does that mean you regret it? Maybe not. Maybe not. Right? Maybe you just think there could be a better way to have done it that doesn't have to manifest itself as regret. I suppose. I don't know. I don't know. It's like I guess it would be hard for me to buy that Aragi truly regrets everything that's happened over the past year, right? Because his life is so much better, right? He wanted to kill himself before, and now he doesn't, right? So it would be hard for me to say that I think he regrets what's happened. But if anything, I wonder if him feeling like he doesn't regret it, if that is just a further thing that plays into all of this Oki stuff, right? Playing into this idea that he himself needs to be judged in some way and all that stuff, right? Why he's unable to accept the change that has been happened to him, right? Hmm. Oh no, I was careless. I should have thought it through and acted more carefully. I don't think things like that now. Is that true? Is that true? And if that's true, the question is why? What does that mean, right? Because it would be easy to interpret that idea as it's saying that Aragi is like very confident in his actions now, right? But you could also take it to be meaning like he thinks he's so far deep. He's so far into being a vampire, into being changed, into all of this now, that he thinks it's like pointless, right? That he's like resigned himself to the actions he's going to take, I suppose, and like the consequence, the compensation, the divine judgment that's going to come down on him afterwards, you know what I mean? Maybe, right? Maybe. I guess that's probably a step up, of course, from him deciding to not do anything ever and to be like how he was at Kizu, right? Hmm. Aragi-senpai probably would have acted the same, even if he knew. Even if he knew what would have happened, what the outcome would have been. That's would have been the same with foreknowledge. Okay, okay. Hmm. Even if he knew, yeah, the consequences, I suppose. God, Ogi sure is something, huh? That's why. This is the part where I kind of wanted to switch to the other subs for some lines. Oops, to really make sure, because some of these lines are weird. I feel like there's like a typo in one of them. There's no more meaning to it than that's why. Interesting. In the end, I'm here doing this. Yeah, like in the end, why I'm here doing this is because I think I'm attracted to how you're like this. That is such a awkward wording. I think the reason I'm here in the first place is because I'm drawn to that aspect of you, Aragi. Okay, I guess that's just literally the same thing. Okay. I don't know how to put it exactly, but I think I like being mean to you. Like that line, like what do the other subs say? You can really that is a very different line. Okay, that is, I mean, those are such radically different those are such radically different translations that I haven't, like, those don't even close to be the same things, right? One of these is just Ogi saying something, you can really twist things. And the other one is her saying, I don't know how to put it exactly, but I think I like being mean to you. Those are, like, what, I have no idea which one of those is correct. And I feel like they mean very different things. Um, okay, interesting. I do think the line "you can really twist things" is interesting, considering we have this very twisted, like, tree on here, right? It's like almost representative of I don't know. What does it make you think? It makes me think of like different paths Saragi could have taken, I suppose, right? Like he said this idea of not regretting things, not like wanting to in my mind go back and like change stuff, right? And a tree with all its like branching paths, right? Makes me think about that idea. Um, Well, I'm really at a loss about how to take this line because both of these the translations are radically different. Um, this line makes sense to me. That she likes being mean to him. That's just a weird way to say it because like it makes sense that she would like being mean to him in the sense of wanting to like target him in this way, right? Him being someone who is a target of what she represents, right? Hmm. This is the line that you like lean what? Doesn't that is not an English sentence. I don't know what that means. Twist what? This and that, things that shouldn't get twisted. Maybe I just hate the things that get twisted. Okay, maybe this makes sense to me. Maybe this translation makes more sense to me. Get twisted. Like, is Araragi twisted? Has Araragi been twisted, right? He's been changed throughout the course of the story. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Sure, and it makes sense why Ogi would want to target that. Also, just the idea of Araragi like twisting things like in his mind too, like kind of what he did with this arc, right? Like the message he imagines he should take from it. The idea that that's like twisted in some way in his head. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. I still feel like I'm not happy with the translation of either of these things of the subs here. So I don't know. And I don't like things that are mean to me. I don't know what that means, Ogi. I don't know what that means, girl. I'm sorry. You could say I like to be fair to have the skill balanced. Right, sure, because that's how Aragi would view it, right? It being fair, it being balanced in some way. Hmm. I want things to be proper. And this makes a lot of sense too. Things being proper, right? It's like Ogi really is the one on the side of properness, right? That it's like what Ogi represents, this objective, like right and wrong in a way for Araragi. Of course, she wants things to be proper. She wants things to fit into that, right? Yeah, that makes sense to me. It's almost like maybe that's the point of this too. Maybe Ononoki killing Tadatsuru, right? Ogi forcing Ononoki into a situation where she basically has to do that, it seems, right? Um, because of the way you could say Aragi viewed Ononoki before, right? In a sense of viewing her as a monster in that way, right? Yeah, Ogi made her act as a monster, right? Or just because of the way that Ononoki could fit into Aragi's whole thing about like relying on other people making you lose your humanity, right? Ononoki feels like the epitome of that in a way, right? So Ononoki has forced her into this situation where she has to act properly like that. She has to be a monster in front of Araragi, right? Yeah, yeah. Yellow flashing light, there it is. Well, really, you still rely on other people's power even now, Aragi. Absolutely. Another person, a little girl, wasn't it? A little girl. Borrowing the powers of a small child, it's pathetic. Hmm. And Aragi is, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting what he says about that, how he says she's probably right, but you just saw it for yourself, she isn't a normal child. What difference does that make? Like, why does Aragi say that, right? Like, why does that make a difference for him? It just feels like an excuse for what he's doing. Like from Ogi's perspective, I guess, or from like his own perspective in a way, because it's Ogi, right? Um, it's like he's trying to come up with excuses, I guess, for why he's relying on other people, I guess. Because again, it's like that's kind of his only option is to either change completely, right? To give up on that idea entirely and be able to accept that, right? Accept that he was wrong before. That's kind of the hard part of it too. Um, or just kind of be like the way he is now, just wishy-washy on the fence, the yellow light, right? Hmm. And yeah, and he has all this weird he has these weird moments, I guess, with Ogi like knowing these things about him and like Ononoki and about Spring Break, right? Which again, I guess it makes sense because I guess I imagine that Ogi well, it's weird because she exists outside of him. She's not entirely in his head, but it's like I guess it makes sense that she would just like know everything that's ever happened to him. I guess it makes sense that she would just like have his memories, probably, right? Just know everything, right? I don't know if she can still like access his mind, even, right? Like, does she hear his thoughts, right? Maybe, right? You've matured, Aragi senpai, don't you think so? He's changed so much, matured as a person, closer to being an adult, perhaps, right? And what does that mean for him, you know? Haven't you matured quite a bit these past few months? You wouldn't have been able to stay cool and collected like this before. Back during spring break, when you thought you would never be human again. Didn't you lock yourself in the gym storage closet and cry and stuff? And that is an interesting thing for him to bring up because, like, I feel like in a way that's a way to try and undermine the way Aragi is now, right? That it's like saying that Aragi should be reacting like this right now, right? That it isn't normal for him to accept this idea of his humanity being gone, right? And he should have like this very strong reaction to it, you know. I feel like that's why Ogi brings that up, that you can stay cool like this now. It's like, does it mean you've matured through the cost of many things and through losing many things? Yeah, it's like all that he's lost through growing and changing as a person, you know. It's like the very thoughts and feelings that led him to that reaction he had in Kizu, right? It's like he's lost that part of him, I suppose, right? Maybe so. But you know, Oki-chan, that being said, I can't think of failures, misfortunes, sacrifices, and much sadness as good things. Is that how Aragi feels his life has been? Right? I guess so, right? He's really been struggling. He's been struggling with the idea of that, right? That his life has been so bad lately in a way, or at least all these things that he cares so much about. Hachikuji disappeared, all the stuff with Nadeko. I guess even this arc now is kind of just another part of it in a way, right? He certainly views what happened with Tadatsuru as a failure, I imagine, right? Um, and he doesn't want to view them as good things. Yeah. You shouldn't either. If anything, I'd like to mature by succeeding. That's natural. And the light stays red, right? The light stays red. It does not turn green. He wants to mature by succeeding. So I just don't know if that's possible, right? I don't know if that's possible. If that is the line by which Aragi is trying to weigh what's right and what's wrong, is by whether or not he feels like he's succeeding. I feel like that is a very just not good way to like think about things, right? I changing and maturing as a person can be a very difficult process, I think, right? I don't know if you will only succeed through that process, right? It's like what he says to Ononoki in a moment here in their conversation, when he says it's like he all he wants to think about is the best possible outcome, right? All he wants is um everything to end up perfect, to basically avoid Tadachi entirely, not deal with the problem in any way, and just succeed completely and everything's fine, right? I just don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's possible at all, right? Especially not when we're talking about things like having to face like these difficult parts of yourself, right? Which is certainly a part of maturing and changing as a person, you know. I think it makes sense that in some way it could feel like this, like failure, misfortune, sacrifice, much sadness, you know. I don't think that process is always going to feel like succeeding, you know? So I wonder how much of this about Aragi viewing it in this way is why he's in the position he's in, you know? Why it's like this idea of him having changed as a person so much, why he's like second guessing it essentially. I that's basically what I think this arc is like about, right? Hmm. Well, that girl earlier has to be the mastermind, the final boss traveling devil boy that asked Tadatsuru to exterminate aberrations. Surely not. No, no way. That would be crazy. That wouldn't make any sense at all. Ononoki, what are you talking about? So yeah, the final boss troubling Araragi. Certainly, right? It's himself in a way, right? It's this part of himself at least, right? Yeah, no, makes sense to me that asked Tadatsuru to exterminate them. Yeah, makes sense. I wonder how Ogi did that. She just found him and was just like, "Hey, you want to go kill Aragi?" I guess, I suppose. Why did he agree to it, right? Tadatsuru is weird. Tadatsuru is very weird. I don't know. No, I didn't say anything. I was just predicting random things. What I like about this too is I like to imagine that everyone else can just completely tell what Ogi is, and it's just so obvious to them, like all the other characters, right? And it's just Aragi being stupid. I don't know, because I mean Otonoki got it right. Come on. Even if they were true, I wouldn't know the motive. Although I suppose not. I suppose it's not that obvious because Ononoki can't really, she doesn't really know, I guess. Oh, that's true. She did say the motive for things to be proper. Right, right, of course. What does it mean to be proper? What does it mean, right? Does the idea of properness even exist, right? For Ogi, being proper means to fit in with Aragi's like whole objective rule system in my mind, right? At least that's what I imagine it means for her. But is there such a thing as that, right? I guess in my mind, I don't think so, right? This whole idea of having a role to play and having to be a certain way, having to fit into like a box like this. I don't really know if that is like a thing at all. The idea of having to be proper in that sense, you know? I'm an aberration, a shikigami, a corpse, and a skimogami. With just this, I'm not proper, huh? And yeah, and it's like she makes her do something that makes her be proper in a sense, killing Tadatsuru as a monster, right? And it's like through having Ononoki do that in Aragi's eyes, it's like Ogi has achieved what? She's achieved making Aragi see her more as a monster, which could have a lot of impact, I guess, right? Because of how Aragi views like relationships with others and like his humanity and all of that, you know? So it makes sense why Ononoki would want to achieve that. Sure, sure. That just means I'm extreme in my actions and that humans were more or less the same way. Everything falls apart. You want to hear a story about Tadatsuru? To be honest, I don't. Why does he not want to? I guess it's just he doesn't want to interact with him at all. He doesn't want to engage with him at all. Yeah, the ideal ending here is that I get the three of them back and off the mountain without Tadatsuru noticing. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. That's just an idea. It won't solve anything if we don't know how to do it. Yeah, so this is Aragi. This is Aragi thinking of he only wants the best possible outcome, of course, right? He wants to mature by succeeding, right? As he said. Makes sense, makes sense. Tadatsuru deals with dead apparitions. What does it mean to be dead? What is a dead oddity versus an alive oddity? The life of a lifeless doll. Tadatsuru loves that. So we get a bunch of backstory stuff about Ononoki, and her creation. Right? It was a group project in college by Gai Nizuko. They're involved in the production for Onechan, Kageno Yuzuru, Kaiki Deshu, Oshinomime Tiori Tadatsuru. In the beginning, it was supposed to be something like a summer research project by bored college students, the creation of an artificial Tsukigami using the corpse of a human that lived to the age of 100. And what this reminds me a lot about Tadatsuru and Kaganui, like, not getting along anymore. I don't know, it reminds me of, like, parents, I guess, fighting over their child. I don't really know, like, how that relates to anything, but it kind of reminds me of that on, like, a surface level, right? It very much, like, humanizes Ononoki in a way, right? That she is, like, so much of just a person, right? And the decision ended up the decision ended up coming down to her, right? She chose Kaganui, which is interesting, I think. Ever since then, the discord between Onechan and Tadatsuru has continued. Yeah. Hmm. Someone who gets along with a stray like Tadatsuru is hard to find. I wonder if Oshino does. Yeah, that's what she says. I wonder if Oshino. Well, I was gonna say, like, would Tadatsuru know where Oshino is? Well, I guess not, because he's the one asking Aragi to find him. So certainly not, right? Hmm. And Ononoki says that Aragi could sacrifice her for the situation, right? She prefaces it with all this stuff, right? Because I think she understands that Aragi would be very resistant to that idea. Um, and God, like always, I mean, it just goes back to the fan service thing for like Nisei, right? Not really fan service, but you know what I mean, right? The weird sexual stuff with Aragi, how it always so much relates to like his connection with other characters, right? I think the reason why he does this crazy shit with Ononoki here, is very much because they are having like this like emotional connection moment right now. It's like he's like seeing her in a different light than he ever has before, almost, I imagine, right? Um, Seeing her as more human than before, I guess, and that's why yeah, he does this, right? Like very much representative through him lifting her skirt, and you know, no, it makes sense to me. Yeah, these are the kind of panties you wear that really don't match your character, which I also think is interesting that we don't get to see them. Just because just because Ononoki as a character is like such a enigma in a way, right? It's so unclear like what she is and how she really feels and like how she how she looks in like Aragi's eyes, even all of these things, you know. So us not getting to see them, not getting to see like this deeper side of her, essentially, right? I think that makes sense. I think that really makes sense. God. That say stupid things get stupid things done to them. Perfect justification. Thank you. Thank you. There's no way I value my life so much that I'd offer you up. Yeah, yeah. He's still like that, right? He's still like that. Of course he would never sacrifice someone for himself. And what's interesting, of course, is in this case, at the end of this arc, with what happens with Tadatsuru, um, someone does end up dying, like for him, almost, right? At least that's how he could so easily take it. Tadatsuru certainly dies, and that's what Aragi would want to avoid so much, right? So, of course, it just feels like another failure to him. If anything, maybe more of a failure than any of the past things, you know? Um, it's just like, it would be so hard for Aragi to be able to accept that, I feel like, you know? Because it requires him valuing his own life, like, even a little bit over the life of someone else, even someone who's the culprit, who's the villain, you know? Which it's so hard for him to do, right? Hmm. I'm sure she lent you to me, because if it's you, you can take care of a useless guy like me. I suppose. I suppose. Hmm. And we talk about Anoki's sense of shame, which I really want to say means something. I really want to. I guess again, it's just humanizes her so much. Not. God, can I speak? Not that she really like needed it. Um, she is clearly so like human compared to the way she like speaks and acts all the time, right? But I don't know. What does a sense of shame mean, right? It's interesting. Aragi kind of feels a sense of shame, I imagine, for like how like his general the way he's changed, the way he lives his life now compared to before, I imagine, right? That's probably part of why Ogi is a thing as well, right? Hmm. If I were to think of something resembling a plan, this is how it would go, right? Right. Going to be the decoy, wants to rescue them. Right, right. And that plan, what would he do afterwards, right? I mean, it's still, yeah, it's still the same thing of him. Yeah, he would be left at the shrine with Tadatsuru. Who knows what his plan after would be? It would be to grovel. I mean, that's just deeply unserious. Like, I don't know, right? Um, it's interesting. It just shows how much, I guess in my mind, I don't think I'm reading it incorrectly. It just shows how much Aragi hasn't changed in terms of like that aspect of him, right? Like still putting himself under others in terms of like wanting to be the one who takes all the responsibility and saves the day in that sense, right? Everyone else ends up fine other than him, stuck there having to face down to Datsuru, right? Hmm. No matter how much you grovel, don't forget that in your shadow is a little girl that used to be a vampire. Yeah, yeah. And it's so interesting that they build up to Datsuru like all of this stuff, right? All of this stuff about him. There's no way he's gonna forgive them. There's no way. Blah 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 blah. And then he's so weird. He's so like this. The way Tadatsuru acts and the things he says are so weird, right? I just don't even know what to make of it. You know? Hmm. What you're saying hasn't changed from before. You haven't grown into an adult at all. Sure, sure, because he doesn't like view himself in that way. Coming out safely with all three hostages and even giving up without even giving up me or Shinobune-san. And for you yourself to come out safe and sound as well. It's a reckless thought. Is it reckless? Is it reckless to want that kind of outcome? I suppose, like in a way, because it's like you aren't preparing for the probably the reality of the situation, which is that it won't end up perfectly like that, right? That you won't be on the best route possible, you know? Makes me think of like Kabuki and all of that, you know? Nothing can be done without needing to pay something in return. As payment for relying too much on your vampire power. In other words, as compensation, you lost your humanity. God, no kidding, huh? If you don't learn from that, you'll always put a bill on your tab, right? It's like, I guess what Ononoki essentially is saying here is like, if you don't change that way of thinking about things, right? She's not saying that that's right, that him losing his humanity for his vampirism is right. She's just saying that it's because he views it in that way that it happened like this, right? He thinks of it as this compensation system, right, for him doing these things, right? And that's why it is that way, right? Yeah. So he'll always put a bill on his tab. And in the end, you'll lose everything. Yeah, he won't have anything anymore. Hmm. Topic is, who else can I blame for the situation outside of you? Yeah, no kidding, huh? If you grew completely into an adult, it would be boring. I kind of agree, right? Of course. Sure, sure. Hmm. God, and yeah, Ononoki suggests just killing him, right? Just yeah, which is a more realistic outcome in my mind, right? Yeah, I feel it's only right that he gets blown to bits, right? And they talk about what's right all the time, right? It's so relevant to like Aragi's whole thing with his whole right and wrong thing, like Ogi and all of this, you know. And I guess it makes sense too. Like just another thing, why Ogi would manufacture the situation like this, why she would have Tadatsuru get like blown up like this. Because Aragi thinks obviously that Tadatsuru kidnapping three girls is bad. Ogi would probably think that too, so of course Tadatsuru gets blown up, right? No, it makes sense, right? Um, but it's this conflict. The issue with that, of course, is that Aragi doesn't think that's good, right? Is of course he thinks it's bad and awful that Tadatsuru kidnapped them, but he doesn't want Ononoki to kill him anyway. Yeah, if you did that, you would stop being human. You'd murder someone. Hmm. Even if they kill people, people are people. Well, I can't say I hate peaceful ideals like that, and it's something necessary. Yeah, I agree, right? That it's like Tadatsuru is the villain in this case. Um, I guess I don't disagree with Aragi in the sense of like we should do whatever we can to avoid killing him, right? But if that's how it has to be, that's just how it has to be sometimes, right? Like, yeah, I mean, huh. Can you let go of my skirt? And Aragi feels so much regret. He feels so much regret over dropping it. It shows how he still blames himself, right, for what Ononoki did. It's this responsibility he feels for the actions and everything all around him, right? That even despite Ononoki, right after killing Tadatsuru, she goes on about how it's entirely her who made this decision. Aragi had nothing to do with it. Aragi still blames himself, right? Later, I realized I shouldn't have let go of her right then. The things Ononoki-chan would go on to do from here. I would have understood it if I had given some thought. Yeah, yeah. It's like these shots of him like losing Ononoki, right? That's really how he views it, right? That's what he says. He says that the darkness has taken Ononoki away from him too, because he imagines her as having lost her humanity, at least in his eyes, right? As being someone so different than the way he viewed her before. So here we are. Here's Tadatsuru. He's blue. I don't know why he's blue. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that's all about, but he's blue. Um, he's doing a bunch of origami, which I think is also interesting, right? Like the idea of origami, I guess it makes me there's like strict rules to making origami, right? You have to make all the like the folds and stuff like perfectly for it to turn out right. Makes me think about like Aragi's whole thing with like things being right and wrong in terms of wanting the best possible outcome and all of this, right? Making like all the best possible moves, I guess, you know? That's kind of what you have to do in order to do origami, which is interesting. I don't really know what that means. I just think that's an interesting like connection, perhaps, with the way he views Tadatsuru, maybe. The law of signs, it means things like that in this world. That sounds kind of awesome. No idea what they're talking about. The origami clock, I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. So we send Ononoki back behind. Aragi will be the decoy. Shinobu talks to Aragi about which, like, I honestly I kind of agree with what she's saying, right? It would be much better for Aragi to live as a vampire than to be dead, right? I cherish you much more than those three who were kidnapped. Can't blame you. Besides, I don't really care if you lead a normal life as a human. I don't hate the thought of you turning into a vampire either. If you're about to be killed by Tadatsuru, I'll suck your blood at that instant. I will make you into a vampire, make you immortal, make you fight him, and make you win. Which makes complete sense to me that she has this attitude. Like, of course, right? Of course I can just fight him myself after sucking your blood and powering up. Sure, yeah. Don't care if you lose a bit more of your humanity by doing so. Which, yeah, it's much better to lose your humanity, right, in Aragi's sense, and be more of a vampire than be dead. So sure, right? And we have the confrontation with Tadatsuru saying a bunch of crazy stuff that I it kind of makes sense. He's just very like aware of things, right? He has this very bizarre attitude about where he is and what he's doing and everything, right? He mentions this curse that Kaganui has that prevents them from walking on the ground that he and Kaganui have. That's like crazy. I don't really know what to make of that. They say someone put it on them. Um, huh. Yeah, I don't know. A childish curse that wants us to walk on the ground for the rest of our lives. What does he say here? According to the one that cast the curse on us, it's just paying off our tabs. Very interesting. It's the cost Yozuru and I paid to reach something far away without knowing our place in this world. Very interesting. It feels very relevant to, like, what Aragi's going through with his whole, like, the whole paying tabs thing, right? Um, not knowing your place in this world, being cursed because of it. Yeah. It's almost like Aragi could be down that same path, you know? Something you'd call compensation. Exactly. Compensation for what, though, right? Is it why Kaganui is as strong as she is, right? And why Tadatsuru's blue? Maybe. I don't really know what being blue means, but something, surely. Something, surely. Kidnapping the people close to you is something I did to eliminate you as an aberration. Right, right. But then he has another question. This isn't it either, exactly. Do you mind if I ask you one thing? Why in the world am I here? Exactly. Why am I here? And so like, God, I just don't even know. It's almost like he's attacking this idea of these roles in general. It feels meta, but it's kind of not meta. It kind of all just relates back to like Aragi's way of viewing the world and all of that in general, I think. Like this idea that he is just the bad guy and Aragi's the good guy, and just like all of these things, these roles that they have to play, right? That you have to be proper. It just feels like it's something that's very much in contradiction to Aragi's just way of viewing the world in that way, right? Um, I don't really know like what Aragi takes from it, right? Um, Tadatsuru says he needs to find Oshino Mime, which what does that mean, right? Would Oshino Mime be able to defeat Ogi? Maybe, right? I guess. Hmm. I'm the culprit. Yeah, yeah. Why in the world am I here? Why is he here? Ogi told him to be here, I assume, right? Hmm. You're here to exterminate me, that's it. That's how Aragi wants the situation to be. That's what would make sense, right? Why I would exterminate you? Yeah, it's true that I am a specialist. A specialist who specializes in immortal aberrations, a stray specialist. More of an outlaw than the outlaws, with no ideals and acting on grudges. The acknowledgement of your harmlessness doesn't work, and I still have a full sense of aesthetics. Aragi-kun, I'm the perfect person to be cast against you. Right, right. It's perfect that Aragi chose. Sorry, that Ogi, kind of in a sense, Aragi, that Ogi chose Tadatsuru to be the one here. Right. It's that's why it's so much like Kaganui and Nisei, right? Because it's Ogi still thinks Aragi needs that. He needs someone to judge him like this in a way, right? So it makes sense why this feels so much like that, right? The best character to cast. Yeah, yeah. I can't shake the feeling that someone cast me into this role. I feel like I was chosen for this role simply because I'm the best person to fight you here and now. Very much so, right? Like this whole situation feels manufactured for that. Hmm. Aren't you here because you have no choice, because you were forced? In a way, in a sense, right? Yeah, yeah. That is like his actions are limited in that same way by having to do these things, you know? It's kind of like the inhuman way that Aragi views it in terms of it being these rules that he has to follow versus like well, I guess I don't know how else I would say it, but it's like it's less like human, I suppose, right? It's like a dangerous way to view the world in general, you know? What do you mean I have no choice? Are you saying you had no choice but to kidnap the people precious to me? Even that anger, aren't you getting angry because you're supposed to? Sure, I guess, right? Like, it's stupid, right? That's a stupid way to think about it, right? Because of course Aragi can be angry because his people he cares about were kidnapped, right? But I guess it's just the important thing that it feels like Tadachi is pointing out here in a way is that I don't know if Aragi thinks of it like that, or if Aragi, because of his whole like rules thing, if he just thinks of it in terms of that, right? That he is supposed to be angry because that's what the system of right and wrong tells him he's supposed to be angry about, right? Rather than it just being like he's mad because he's mad, you know? What is the difference between you and me? We're both doing what we're supposed to do. Exactly, right? Both of us in the situation we're in with the roles we're given. It's like things like Tadatsuro are an inevitability if Aragi's like mindset about the world is like true, right? Yeah, yeah. Not allowed to ad lib. Not allowed to like change. Not allowed to change anything. Look for Oshino. I'm sure that he will, without being used by anyone and outside all of this casting, be the referee for the story, neutrally and with a nice balance. That's something only he can do. What would Oshino be able to do for Aragi? I wonder. I wonder. I wouldn't have had to do something like this. I wouldn't have had to do something this proper. I wouldn't have had to be proper. It makes me wonder how much do the specialists like know about Ogi, right? How big of a deal is Ogi, right? Like, I wonder because it feels like Tadashi was forced into this situation, right? So, like, is that really the case? Is it the case that Ogi, like, God, I don't know, I don't know. What is like what is Ogi to the specialists? You know what I mean? Because it's like if Ogi is the one who approached Tadatsuru with this, then we know they know about her in some way. At least Tadatsuru does, right? And Gainizuko knows everything. So I mean, come on. Shall we start now or end? And Tadatsuru, I don't know. Tadatsuru is so I cannot understand his motivations or him as a character at all. But positioned like a pawn, moved around like a pawn, and worked like a pawn. I'm sick of it. I don't want to help turn you into a vampire. Was that the goal? Was that the goal of this? Is that what Ogi wanted? For him to be more of a vampire? Maybe, right? Obviously that wouldn't have led to what happens with Ononoki killing him, though, so I don't know. I don't know. Why would Ogi have wanted that just because it would be a further punishment for Araragi? Maybe, right? Maybe. Hmm. If you can't find Oshino, you'll have no choice but to become proper. Right, right. Can only gain and lose. Yeah, gain and lose, right? It's the idea of gaining things and losing things with his whole compensation thing, right? Like what Ogi said about how many things he's lost in order to like change as a person, right? Yeah, yeah. I am a dense. I don't get when you tell me like that. Hmm. I won't ask you for anything because you're human. Yeah. And he asks Ononoki to kill him, so asked her to say her to say her line one last time. I said with opposed luck. Unlimited rulebook. I said with opposed luck, and she does it. Some crazy lighting in these shots, right? With Ononoki in shadow like this. Yeah, yeah. And she immediately starts saying like, "Oh, it wasn't your fault. You had nothing to do with this." Blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, of course, right? Because she knows that Aragi is going to blame himself for this immediately, right? Right, right. I'm sure if the intention was to protect or to save, there was a way to spare him, but it can't always be the best possible thing, right? You aren't always going to be on the best outcome. That just isn't how life works, right? Yet I still killed him because I'm a monster. I don't know what she means by that. I don't know what she means by that, right? Is she a monster? I guess I disagree that she's a monster in a literal sense. In an Araragi sense, not even, right? I think she still has like herself. She's still an individual, right? Don't end up like this. When a human story ends as a monster story, their humanity ends, right? And I agree with that. If Aragi continues down the path he's on, viewing things the way he does, then certainly, right? He would lose his humanity literally. He would manifest it for himself, right? Yeah. What you'd call an epilogue or the punchline for this episode. They were all in the box. We saved them all. Perfect. Beautiful. Here's Kaganui with her curse that doesn't let her touch the ground. I just, like, what does that mean? Like, what does it mean that she can't touch the ground? It's like, who defines what the ground is, right? I guess they said it's like a superstition thing, right? Just like oddities are. So I guess it's probably just if you think you're touching the ground, then you're touching the ground. And then what happens to you? You die? I don't know. Who knows, right? I guess she just can't. She just can't do it, right? So if she can stand on it, then that means it's not the ground, right? And if it's the ground, then she just can't stand on it. There we go. Sure. Hmm. In the sun. God, what a crazy shot of the sun. You can still stand in the sunlight, right? I think that's interesting, right? For the time being, I guess your body won't disappear in the sunlight. It shows that there's Aragi isn't that far gone, right? If this vampirism is manifested through the way Aragi views himself, then it shows that at the very least he is not that far gone yet. That there is some amount of him that he still thinks can stand in the sunlight, that he's not gone entirely, right? So that kind of sets us up, right, for I assume the rest of whatever we're getting into, Um, that we're right on the edge, right, between Aragi truly losing his humanity in some sense, thinking that he truly is gone, but we're not too far gone yet, right? You have a body that can still walk under the sun's light, and so can she, right? So can she. What kind of story was this incident? I think it was a story meant for me to see. The cute doll called Mononoke Yotsugi murder a human as a monster. Is that really it? Is that really it? A story where I can understand in my head, but I can't help but see her in a different light, feeling instinctive disgust. Yeah, yeah. That he thinks that she did the wrong thing, right? Hmm. Somewhat manipulated using every trick in the book. Is there more there? Is that all? Okay. The enemy's objective must have been to cause a split between me and Ononoki Yatsugi, as we had come to have a reasonable amount of friendship. Right, yeah. And I think it makes sense that Ogi would want to do that. Sure, sure. The objective of the darkness. And of course Aragi would think of it like that, right? Of course, of course. Following Hachikuji Mayoi and Sengoku Nadeko, it took Ononoki Yatsugi away from me. Yeah, yeah. Which is a very which is interesting, because in that case it's like he thinks his separation from Nadeko was right too, then, Because it's like if he's saying that's the darkness doing it, he imagines the darkness is what's right, or Ogi, really. Then yeah, taking Hachikuji and Ononoki makes sense, but Nadeko as well. I think that's interesting because that's something that I think he does regret so much, is how that turned out, His separation from her forever, Hmm. Tadatsuru did not fight his end. He simply followed his plan recklessly. That's all. That's what it all meant. There has to be more to it than that, huh? Come on. And God, I love this scene so much. The scene with Senjukahara. She has such an amazing line in here about like God. She holds the keys to the puzzle, like for sure. Right? Very cute. Very nice. She made chocolate for him. Yay. So he tells her everything that's going down, right? So how is it troubling if you can never see yourself in the mirror again? How, you ask? Well, I guess it'll be bad when people notice. That's it, then well, it's fine. Even if a mirror doesn't show you, Araki-kun will continue to appear in my eyes. I love this line so much. I love this line so much. Because that's like the answer to his problem, right? Is like he is him defining his humanity off like the way he views himself and all of this, right? Obviously, like the way he views himself can change and should change. That'd be good, right? But it's like this ignoring the fact that other people can still see him, and that like in other people's eyes it's like good that he's different and that he's changed and all of this stuff, that it's like literally the way that she sees him and all of this, and like it's so related to like his connection to others. I God, it's so good. This is such a good line. I love this line so much. Well, that being said, you need to think about what you're going to do moving forward. No kidding. You've talked to Hanakawa-san about this, right? No, he has not. Come on. Of course he wouldn't go to her before you. Except he would have. He just didn't know what to tell her. Even if it's just not being able to see myself in a mirror for now, I don't know if I'll stay like this forever. Yeah, that it could so easily get worse. Even if I don't let Shinobi suck my blood, some other catalyst might break the balance. Yeah. And it's not only that, it feels like such a deeply personal thing for him too. It's just like the way he views himself, right? It's like so related to that. It could so easily go like the wrong way and just be awful, right? Just lead to him being like he wasn't Kizu, right? Lead to him thinking that he was right all along. Hmm. The unreliable thing is how I live my life. Like, what does that even mean? My normal life, the life I can live doing what I've always done. Yeah. I don't know how long that's going to last. That's the one thing I can say for sure, right? That it's like he feels like this freedom to his actions that he's felt ever since Kizu, I imagine, you know. He doesn't know how long he can keep that up. He doesn't know how long he can continue before he has to be proper, before he has to fulfill the role that he has to fulfill, you know. Because again, that's what he feels like he's doing, you know. He feels like he's like cheating in a way, right? That he has to pay compensation for it, that it's all piling up. The life you can spend doing what you've always done. Yeah. Kaiki. Bring up Kaiki, huh? Kaiki was a guy that showed off by saying things like that. This reminds me, remember when Hanakawa, with the cat ears, when she turned into black, Hanakawa was looking in the same mirror? Kaiki was a guy that showed off by saying things like that. No kidding. A peaceful everyday life, her relationships will continue forever. These are things he never thought about. I think it's interesting because he kind of did, in a way, I imagine, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know. You could say he didn't like his life to show signs of living. Well, I was mistaken to think a stance like that was cool. Sure, sure. Even if something like that is cool, I think you're fine being uncool. I agree. I agree. Of course. She doesn't say you should be proper as much as she used to, right? Yeah, Hanakawa, she totally had like a similar attitude to this about like herself and like the way she should act, you know? Of course. Yeah, don't you gotta stop bringing up Hanakawa on on Valentine's Day, Aragi God. And Shinjigahara really shows him who's boss, huh? I like how they just keep having their conversation after this has happened. One favor, do it tomorrow. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. God, I love Shinjigahara so much. Jesus. Man. And Ononoki's here now. Ononoki has invaded the Araragi household. I was sitting inside the crane game and your little sisters got me. Compared to you, Devil-chan, Skihi-chan has quite a bit more skill. That's so interesting. Someone posted a very good claw game analysis on the second episode comments about how it's like you can it kind of represents like Aragi himself like being the claw hand, right? Like him trying things over and over again and not being strong enough for it to like pick up Ononoki is like him not being able to like achieve all of these things that he feels like personal responsibility for, right? Like him throwing himself at it over and over again with this weak claw, you know. Um I think that's interesting. I wonder, like, Skihi being more skilled at it then, if that's the analysis we want to look at it through. Like, what does that mean? Why would Skihi be more skilled at it, right? Maybe because Skihi is someone who we know is like more fine with the idea of relying on other people, right? Like there's lines from her back in like Nisei about her reliance on others, you know? Makes sense, perhaps. Makes sense, perhaps. The objective of this incident was to make a split in our relationship. Gansan and One-chan decided that if that's the case, we need to avoid it. I suppose. Until this town stabilizes, they told me to stick with you. Getting more close and intimate. Sounds good. I love Ononoki. So, sounds good to me. The rowdy days will continue for a little bit longer, huh? Yeah. And it's like oh, the noisy days, my bad. Didn't he say rowdy before? Maybe not. I don't know. These noisy days will continue for just a little bit longer. Yeah, makes sense. I think that makes sense. Because it feels so much like back in episode 1, he said that same thing about how it's like the noisy days can't continue forever or whatever, right? And the conclusion of the arc is, well, they're going to continue on for a little bit longer, right? It feels like we're so much reaching a conclusion. We're so close to reaching like the end, you know, as he said, the end of Araragi Kiyomi, I guess, right? It feels like this could have been it. It feels like in a way this arc was right on the precipice of something for Aragi, rather falling into the bad side of it or being able to accept himself in some way. But we aren't there yet. So the noisy days continue, the days of change, perhaps, right? That is the end of Tsukimonogatari. I enjoyed this arc a lot. It was very good. Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I'm entirely sure that I have gotten everything out of it that I could have, but that is probably a tall task on a first watch, right? Who knows? Who knows? I wonder how much stuff in this arc you could say has meaning that I missed out on, I suppose. Because it feels like one of those arcs, you know what I mean? One of those arcs where there's a lot of stuff, right? Either way, I suppose that is it. So please, if you enjoy my videos, leave a comment, tell me what you think, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.